In African American kitchens across the country, ground beef became the canvas for creativity. It was seasoned, shaped, fried, stewed, scrambled, and smothered. It was the star of weeknight dinners, Sunday suppers, and school lunch leftovers. But somewhere along the way, these dishes disappeared, replaced by fast food, forgotten by cookbooks, left behind in the rush toward convenience. Today, we're bringing them back. These are 10 African American ground beef meals that deserve a comeback, not just because they're delicious, but because they tell a story. A story of survival, flavor, of love. Number 1. Quick meatball stew, the bowl that fed everyone. You didn't need fancy ingredients. You needed ground beef, breadcrumbs, and a few spices. You rolled them into meatballs, not perfect spheres, but hearty, uneven, and full of flavor, browned in a skillet, dropped into a pot of tomato sauce, onions, and bell peppers. Simmered until the sauce thickened and the meatballs soaked up every drop. Served over rice, or with cornbread, or just eaten with a spoon. This wasn't Italian. It was Southern. It was soulful. Quick meatball stew was the kind of dish your grandmother made when she didn't have time but still wanted to feed you right. It was warm. It was filling, and it made you feel loved. Number 2, beef and rice croquettes. The crunch that surprised you. Leftover rice, ground beef, eggs, breadcrumbs, seasonings, mixed together, shaped into ovals, rolled in more crumbs. Fried until golden, they were crispy on the outside, soft on the inside. Savory all the way through, served with hot sauce, or dipped in mustard, or eaten plain, standing at the stove. Croquettes were a way to make leftovers feel new. They were portable. They were snackable. They were brilliant. In African American kitchens, beef and rice croquettes were proof that nothing went to waste and everything could be delicious. Number 3, hamburger, steak, and onions with rice. The dish that felt fancy, ground beef shaped into patties, seasoned like steak, pan-fried until browned, smothered in sautéed onions, served over rice, with gravy if you had it, with hot sauce if you didn't. It was simple. It was bold. It was beautiful. This was the dish you made when you wanted to feel fancy without spending fancy money. It was steak in spirit, hamburger in reality, and flavor in every bite. In the 1970s and 80s, this was a weeknight classic, and it deserves a comeback. Number 4, savory bread pudding with ground beef. The bake that surprised. You didn't just make sweet bread pudding. You made it savory stale bread. Ground beef, eggs, milk, onions, cheese if you had it mixed together, poured into a pan, baked until golden and firm. It was soft. It was rich. It was unexpected. Served with greens, or eaten on its own, or packed in lunchboxes. This was the kind of dish that made you rethink everything you knew about bread pudding. It was comfort food with a twist. Number 5, beef and tomato grits. The bowl that broke the rules. Grits weren't just for breakfast. They were for dinner, and they were for beef. Ground beef browned with onions and garlic. Tomatoes added fresh, canned, or paste. Simmered into a thick sauce. Poured over hot grits. It was creamy. It was tangy. It was bold. This was a dish that broke the rules and made new ones. It was Southern. It was soulful. And it was unforgettable. Number 6, ground beef and lima bean pot pie. The crust that held it all. Lima beans weren't everyone's favorite, but when you mixed them with ground beef, onions, and gravy, they became magic. Topped with a flaky crust. Baked until golden. Served hot, it was hearty. It was rich. It was comforting. This was the kind of pot pie that didn't come from a box. It came from memory, from tradition, from love. Number 7, beef and mustard greens stir fry. The pan that sizzled. Mustard greens were bitter. Beef was bold. Together, they were perfect. sautéed in a hot pan, seasoned with garlic, soy sauce, and vinegar. Served over rice, it was tangy. It was spicy. It was fresh. This was stir-fry with soul, a fusion of southern greens and Asian technique, and it worked. Number 8. Hamburger and Egg Scramble. The breakfast that stayed with you. Ground beef, scrambled eggs, onions, peppers, cooked together in one pan, served with toast or grits, or just eaten with a fork. It was quick. It was filling. It was perfect. This was breakfast for champions, the kind you ate before school, before work, before life got hard. Number 9. Molasses-Glazed Meatballs. The sweet that surprised you. Meatballs weren't just savory. They were sweet ground beef, breadcrumbs, eggs, spices, glazed with molasses, vinegar, and mustard, baked until sticky and golden, served with rice, or mashed potatoes, or eaten with toothpicks at parties. This was flavor. This was tradition. This was brilliance. Number 10. Smothered hamburger steaks with onions and gravy. The plate that felt like Sunday. Ground beef shaped into thick patties. Pan-fried, smothered in onions, covered in gravy, served with rice, or mashed potatoes, or cornbread. It was rich. It was tender. It was sacred. This was Sunday dinner, even if it was Tuesday. It was love on a plate. The dishes that remember, these weren't just meals, they were memories. They were proof that poverty couldn't erase pride. African-American families cooked with what they had, and what they had was enough. Meatball stew. Molasses-glazed meatballs. Beef and tomato grits. Smothered hamburger steaks. Each dish told a story. Of struggle. Of survival. Of love. Drop a comment. Which dish did you grow up with? Which one would you try today? Like this video to honor the flavors that raised us. Subscribe to the America We Forget, where every bite tells a story worth preserving.